Hey everybody, welcome back to Jeff Bowles Central, doing a mental health discussion video for you today. Wanted to talk about hallucinations and delusions, kind of what they are like to experience, what they look like from the outside, what they look like from the inside. I think I wanted to touch on this because I don't think I've done a video specifically about this aspect of schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder, which is what I have, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar type. They are the least understood aspect of serious mental health, I think. One of the least, anyway. They're one of the most feared aspects of serious mental health issues, namely, again, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder. The thing about delusional thinking and sometimes hallucinations is that they kind of accompany a few other disorders as well. Like, for instance, I know borderline personality disorder, people with that tend to experience thinking and rationalizations that are not totally accurate, but I don't know if that verges into delusional thinking as defined by the DSM-5. Just because I try to do this in front of all these mental health videos. I'm not a mental health professional. I don't claim to be. Please don't take my word as gospel. It's just kind of my experience as someone who's been suffering with serious mental health my whole life and schizoaffective disorder for the last 8 years or so. Just a sufferer, you know what I mean? Just someone who's kind of been through the mill and feels like I have some wisdom to share. So when it comes to delusional thinking, we'll start there because the hallucinations are a little harder to understand. We don't really understand the triggers for these things within the brain. We just know that at some point along the line of developing schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder or any serious mental health disorder, the lines start to get skewed from what we would call a rationality, what most people recognize as rational thinking, into irrational thinking, right? Even someone with depression, just I'm not calling depression basic, trust me, because I know it's not, but even someone with what you would quote unquote basic depression, right? They start thinking that they're a burden. They start thinking that the world doesn't need them. They start thinking that they have no value. Any number of things that get them to feeling down. And so that's not really rational thinking, because no one should really have to think that way. No one should have to feel that way. No one really is that thing. I mean, not to that extent, right? Not to that kind of like pathological extent. So when we're saying delusional thinking, it's like we're really talking about really extreme versions of that. We're talking about the government is spying on me through my teeth. Okay? We're talking about, I'll just admit one because I do deal with this frequently, and I don't mind being a little bit vulnerable on here. It's kind of what I'm here to do. I sometimes feel that people are trying to poison me, loved ones even. And as much as I know that that's not true, it comes into my mind unwillingly. I can't help it. I can't help that. And I am in a position now, since I've been recovering from my first psychosis for a while, I have a little bit of separation between the truth and the falsehood that my brain is feeding me. Yeah. So if I have a thought that someone's trying to poison me through my food, okay, which is not true, no one's trying to poison me, I still have to go through the motion of experiencing the feeling, you understand? I still have to go through the thought. And I'm lucky because I'm surrounded by people like my wife, for instance. I can talk to my wife and say, is this true? Is this not true? And she'll say, it's not true. Yeah. Not everybody has that kind of support system. But I think what seems to happen with schizophrenia is it's an ongoing condition, and sometimes you have bursts of really intense psychosis that kind of ease up for a while, and it's kind of a relapsing thing for a lot of people. If you can get some distance just a little bit of time between relapses and things start to kind of clear out a little bit and things start to make a little bit more sense again. This has just been my experience. I don't want to speak for everybody with the condition. It gets easier. It gets easier to handle. I still have to go through the motion of thinking the strange thing, but at least I come out on the other side going, okay, we're through. That wasn't true. You see, you still don't have much control over it. And so, one of the frustrating things, if anybody with mental illness can tell you this, one of the frustrating things is when the normies, sorry, I don't mean to use that word, but when average people without serious mental illness is what I mean, the normies, when average people tell you, as someone who suffers, just straighten up, just get over it, just think straighter, just stop that, stop it. There's no stopping it necessarily. That's not to say there's no helping it, because essentially when you're so far down the path of this thing and things are just absolutely nuts in your life and in your head, you can't do anything about it by yourself. And I want to reiterate this, because if there's one message in this video I want people to take away, it's that you don't have to do this alone. There is help. And in fact, you don't want to do it alone. You don't want to do it alone, because alone is a pretty scary thing and bad things can happen from this. And so delusion and hallucination, I started out by saying they're feared, and they are. And is there a reason for that? Kind of. It's overblown. And you look at TV and movies and stuff, and they make the schizophrenic guy, the serial killer is always, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm talking about, prejudice, or just stereotyping, right? But there is an element of danger. I'll say danger. If someone is seriously experiencing delusional thinking, seriously hallucinating, I promise you they are not in control. Okay. And I mean that. And I think a person is more likely to hurt themselves than hurt someone else in that condition. And in fact, statistically speaking, schizophrenic people are more likely to be hurt by others than to hurt people. We're not vicious people. We're not dangerous people otherwise, but, and I want to try to walk the line here because I really don't want to offend anybody. That's not what I'm trying to do at all. But from my experience, and I can give my experience, things got dangerous with my story. I hurt my wife in a car accident because I was delusionally thinking she was a witch trying to hunt me down and kill me, and I panicked. And I don't really want to go into the full thing, but I want you to hear it, just because this is something that can happen. Now listen, I love my wife dearly. We've been together now. We've known each other 19 years. We've been married. Better get this right. This is our 15th year this year. We love each other dearly, and we go to hell and back for each other. We have gone to hell and back for each other, but this thing happened, and it was me that did it. She was coming to get me. I told her I had to get in the car and go. I said, I got to go get a pizza, but really I was just trying to get away because I was so scared. Because the voices were telling me she was going to kill me. And I believe them wholeheartedly, because you just do. You just get sucked into it, and there's nothing that can break it. And that's kind of why hospitalization does have to happen sometimes. And I'm sorry that that's the case, but it does. Because sometimes hospitals aren't so great, mental hospitals. That's a thing. That's true. So I was running out to the car. She ran after me because she didn't want me to hurt anybody on the road. I threw it in reverse just as she was getting in. I pushed the gas pedal, and she went under the front wheel. Okay. Now that's a real thing that happened. I ended up in jail hallucinating like crazy. I ended up in a mental facility for 2 weeks, hallucinating like crazy. I finally made it home hallucinating like crazy. The authorities wanted to keep us separate because they thought I was a real danger, and I guess that probably was true. I'm not a violent person, I promise. I'm not a dangerous person, I can promise that, but this happened, okay? And there's a long story of how we got back together, and maybe I'll tell that again. I'm sure I have. But the point being, if you see someone in a situation, sorry about that. That's my cat. You'll see her on some other videos or hear her probably. If you see someone in this kind of situation, or you're starting to lose touch with reality, and you can tell, because again, when it's in full swing, there's nothing that you can do. You need help. Okay, if you're in that situation, and that's it. That's the qualifying thing. Just because it can get bad, and God help me, I hate myself to the end of my life for doing that to her. She's fine. She did sustain some injuries, but that was almost seven or 8 years ago, right? So I want to get through that, because that's always hard to talk about for me, because I really do feel a lot of shame for that to this day, and I'm still really angry about it to this day. Not to burden you with that. So then, I want to talk about straight hallucinations now, because if delusional thinking is perceiving reality in a way that your thinking is askew, hallucinations is perceiving reality in a way where your senses are askew. Like I said, olfactory, auditory, visual. I'm trying to think. You can even feel as though some people are touching you. You can feel things like that. They kind of go hand in hand. They kind of blend the texture of reality in a really frightening way. Being in the midst of this is terrifying. It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying, because you don't understand what's going on. You can't think straight. You're saying things that are just not you. You're not you at that point. And it's really sad, and it's really scary, and I don't know why it happens. And I wish it hadn't happened to me, and I wish it hadn't happened to a lot of people I've met through the channel. I wish it doesn't have to happen at all, but that's a thing in this world, right? Like any other illness, we wish it wasn't real. But it is. So anyways, now hallucinations are, again, it's like a blending of the fabric of reality. So I can give more examples. For instance, when I was in jail, from the auto accident, there were other people in the jail with me, and I could have sworn that they were like frozen in time, not moving at all, pouring cups of water for each other and like giving each other dazes and stuff. And the strange thing is though I know that there were no daisies in that jail particularly. I know that in my mind's eye, it's all I see. I see the reality of it. It was so real. And not to get philosophical, but perception is reality anyway, right? So, if I see a black cat over there, that's my reality, whether it's there or not, right? Now, you can walk in the room and say, yeah, there's a black cat. Well, that's probably a good indication that there's a black cat. But if you come in the room and tell me, no, there's no black cat, what the hell are you talking about? That's a hallucination, right? And I want you to know, again, number one, if these things are happening, if someone is saying and seeing and their words are jumbled, if you see anything like this, potentially this person really does need some serious help, because I don't think that they're capable of sorting it out in that moment themselves. That's just my experience. Please, I'm, again, not an expert. The other thing I want you to know is that fear is not really appropriate. Keeping a vigil or keeping aware is fine, but fear is not appropriate. Being afraid of these people, locking them away. I say these people, I mean me too, when I'm suffering at my worst, though I have been improving in recent years, which is wonderful. But fear is not going to help anybody. Hate is not going to help anybody. Anger is not going to help anybody. What's going to help people is knowledge, understanding, Because if we both understand the realities of it, positive and negative, if there are any positive, I don't know, it's a pretty rough experience. As well as understanding that it can be dangerous, but like statistically speaking, you're just looking at someone who just really needs a hand, man. They really need a hand. They really need help. And help is available no matter where you are. I mean, I don't want to, maybe that's not true, but again, the mental health system is not always peachy keen everywhere. There is mistreatment, and sometimes meds don't work for people, and sometimes they do make them feel less like themselves, and sometimes there is just abuse in the system. But in my experience where I live, what I've gone through, there has been a little bit of that I've seen, but mostly these people just want to help. Okay, so let them. I could talk a little bit about the fact that the delusions and the hallucinations kind of work in tandem, and it's almost always a negative. Like I had spiritual or religious delusions, which also connected with feeling like I could hear the voices of people I know telepathically. That's what the voices were telling me. Like I had some romantic delusions too, which again, that pains me because I'm not that way. That isn't who I am, and I know that about myself, and I know it again, and I knew it before, but that was who I was then, So I basically had this delusion that someone I knew was contacting me psychically, which was a spiritual thing because it was also tied up in like some new age type religious stuff. And that they were romantically inclined towards me, and that I had to do all sorts of whatever, jump through all sorts of hoops just to be with this person. I didn't really want to be with this person. That's not what I was about, man. That's not who I was. But all of a sudden, it was everything. It was everything, and I would have done anything for this voice. And I did do some awful stuff. And people who know me probably would be surprised to hear some of that if I really went into full detail. But like, it's true. It happened. And so beware, be aware, and don't take it for granted. But I do want you to know that fear, again, is not super helpful. This is going to change a person. This is going to take them away from their true nature, who they really are. Even though it is a part of them, I'm not saying it's not. It's a complex issue. We want to treat it with respect. We want to treat these people, we want to treat people like me with dignity. But the truth is that the help has to get involved. Help has to get involved. And if you don't feel up to providing that help, then you need to get help too, so that you can have the help to help the person. That's all I'm saying. I want to talk about this because it's, again, the prime core things that are in every definition that I've ever seen for schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder. And it's the thing that no one understands, and it's the thing that everybody fears. So, okay. I hope that was informative. I hope it wasn't too triggering or triggering at all, because again, I'm not about that. But if you liked this video, I do these mental health discussions every week or two now. I'm trying to pick up the pace on them because people seem to like them. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, share, comment, the standard drill. I do video game videos and music, so that's my full gamut at the moment. Gosh, I hope this was helpful. I'll see you again in about a week or two. Peace, everybody. Bye-bye.
told me she had feelings. She had lied.